to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. No, come find me. No, come find me. Listen to the words. Come find me. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
I ain't a hard guy to find. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. I think it's Thursday night. I don't know. I know. I think we get both head coaches' press conferences tomorrow, which makes me believe it's Friday. So hey, we're almost here. We're almost at game day. And if you're waiting around for a defensive film study from Ohio State, you were late. It was on Patreon like 2 weeks ago. Sorry. I don't know if we're going to get to it. I really don't. The schedule this week has been nuts. And if you haven't noticed that, you're probably not following us on Twitter. You're probably not following Baxter Street Boys on Twitter. You're probably not following us over on Dawgs Daily. You're probably not absorbing all of the content. Heck, you guys got 35 minutes worth of press conference footage today as well. So it's been loaded up. I honestly do enough soloing around here. I'm not going to lie to you. And it was refreshing a couple weeks back for me to add a couple of friends in, particularly the Baxter Street Boys and guys that are involved with the network, and just unclick and get to just hang out and talk like everybody else gets to do instead of just being the show or whatever the show is, you know? So tonight we're just going to preview the game. We're going to get these guys' thoughts. I'm going to give it a little bit of analysis. Y'all know how they are with the Baxter Street Boys. They're a little bit more on the homer end of things. I tend to be on the more analytical end of things, more film-based, but I think we might be on the same side of this. Not to spoil too much. I think we might be on the same side of agreements here. Maybe not as hot and whatnot. But I want to add them in. Let's add our boy Cole first. Jake, welcome in, and Griff as well. Gentlemen, how we doing? We'll start with that bucket hat. That bucket hat is hot. That bucket hat is strong.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
It dropped about 2 or 3 strokes off the golf game first time I wore it, and I haven't been golfing without it since. So got it from my buddy who runs a little thrift store on Instagram. Shout out Thrift Busters on Instagram. He's the man. So yeah, it's I felt it was right tonight.
You know what? This will keep the comments light because I think last time all four of us were on together, we had straight snapbacks backwards, all four of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we look like we were, pledging a fraternity.
That's the usual fit. That's the usual fit.
Usual, at least we look like 4 different lads today. So, Griffey, baby, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm a University of Georgia alumni now. I can say that. My degree should be in the mail soon. I'm pumped about that. It feels good. It's an accomplishment.
Can we give a public golf clap here on the platform to Griff for graduating?
Yeah, feels good.
Not bad. Major?
Finance,
bro.
We might toss you some bread here soon. Jake, how we doing, brother?
I'm ready. That's all I can say about this, man. I'm tired of the talk. I'm tired of the TV. I'm tired of the commercials. I'm ready to go out there and I'm ready to whoop the shit out of somebody like they stole something.
Jake, this episode is sponsored by Polly's. Shout out Polly's.
Polly's Crate Bar.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what. Hey, you know what I love about Jake? He didn't hide it. He let us know right off. Hey, was that Polly's? Hey, I'm gonna let the true colors fly tonight and off rip, letting everybody know. And you know what? You know who had a very similar vibe whilst ripping upon a styrofoam cup during his media pressers this week? Todd Monken. That dude had a very much so he wasn't off the polys, but he was off the I'm tired of talking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he was done with it, and I was cool with that. And then all of a sudden, it's like he found second life today, because today he was ready to talk about just about anything. But when it came to all the cameras on him, he wasn't really wanting to talk, but I was cool with that. It's been a fun week, no doubt.
I loved when he was, somebody said, asking him about head coaching opportunities and stuff. And he said, yeah, nobody wants my old ass. And you know what, Monk? I don't think you're an old guy at all. I think you're a good dude. And I hope nobody wants you. Purdue definitely wanted him. That was very much a real thing. I hope nobody wants Monk. I hope he stays in Athens until he retires, because you know what? That man's going to be in his bag against Ohio State, and he's going to have them boys looking silly.
That thing's going to be open wide open.
That playbook, I always tell people, I always say, hey, you only scored 17 points against Kentucky. Yeah, you know why? Because we don't empty the clip against them. You saw Monken last year. Kenny Mack to AD on a pass. We got something in the chamber. We got something ready for him. I'm not worried about it.
No doubt.
My favorite thing about Monken is his ability to just be different every week. I mean, some weeks I feel like he wants to be a 3-by-1 team out of shotgun. Sometimes I feel like he wants to be a 2 tight ends attached. He came out against Georgia Tech with like 2 H-backs, basically. He detached Darnell and Brock, and it almost looked like a modern-day wishbone. He's different every single week. He's just an anomaly. I mean, from day one, if you go back on this channel and you type in Todd Monken, the Film Guy Network, it will pop up the very first video we ever did, which was our introduction to him when he was announced as the offensive coordinator. And the thing that we continued, the term that we talked about was the chameleon coordinator. I feel like that dude can blend into whatever he wants to blend into. And I thought it was very important to listen to the way that in which he spoke. The terminology he used, I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but he spoke as a person who appreciated where he was at, whilst also knowing that this is not necessarily permanent, because he is not permanent.
He'll be in the NFL. He'll be in the NFL before probably, 2025. He'll be in the NFL.
I'm here to tell you, he's already turned down NFL offers. I'm not breaking news. I'm not being inside intel
At
guy.
some point,
he's already turned them down. I'm telling you, if he goes back to the NFL, it's going to be a top 12 quarterback. He is not going to go back to the NFL to be an offensive coordinator at a situation like he had in Cleveland, where Baker Mayfield is a top 20 quarterback. If he goes back to the NFL because he doesn't want to recruit, which, by the way, he's at a program where he doesn't really have to. Like, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about this, but, like, he's at the one program in America where, like, dude, you got to lock in a quarterback every year. That's it. Like, you got to go out and sign a Q, and that's that. So this past year, he spent some time recruiting up there and hanging out with Puglisi. And in years past, he's kind of, focused on Arch Manning and whatnot and all that good stuff. But, I mean, most of the time, he's just IDing Qs, and that's not that hard. It's not like he's got to go out and grind the landscape for it. So maybe he's really found the one job that he might want to stick around in, because I've done this rant 1,000 times on this network. Check the dude's Wikipedia page, guys. He's never spent more than 4 years at a single place since Eastern Michigan in the 90s. This dude is like a nomad. He's uncomfortable. He doesn't want to sit in one place very often. So the fact that you got him for 3 and listening to him, he might want to come back for 4. That shit's crazy. That's nuts. But it really goes to speak about where you are in terms of offensive coordinating jobs. I think Georgia is a top 32 coordinating job in all of America. I think it's better than 3 or 4 NFL jobs. I think you can argue that.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. He probably likes being able to be a chameleon guy because he's able to do it with the personnel that we have. Like, you can't just do that anywhere. At some places, you have to establish an identity and just play to it because that's all you got. But when you have guys like Darnell and Brock that you can do a lot of different things with, you have an offensive line that can play a lot of different ways, and obviously you have Stet who can do a lot of different things. You're able to just kind of like, he probably enjoys the challenge of, hey, this defense has a weakness here. We can exploit that with our strengths. And there's so many different strengths. They can do so many different things. So, yeah, I would say that definitely contributes to it. And I'll bet Kirby's, like you just said, he's sitting there, hey, you get me a quarterback, I'll get you the rest around it. Like, you keep dialing it up, we keep scoring, you'll have the guys.
And
we'll go get Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett in the transfer portal.
And better yet, when, like, all the recruiting you had, like, COVID sucked in the sense that they didn't get to install the offense like they wanted to.
Right.
But I don't know if there was a better Zoom recruiter than Todd Monken in this world.
I bet he loved that.
Oh, my God. Cole.
Put some coffee in the Keurig and just prop the feet up, turn the computer on, talk ball.
No offense, but, like, the people on this network think I'm a genius coming on this network, talking film and putting it up on the screen and walking it through. What do you think a 17-year-old thinks about Todd Monken when he throws that shit up on a Zoom?
Yeah.
I mean, good God, he probably feels like he's been looking at trigonometry his whole entire life, and someone walked up to him and explained that 1 + 2 = 3. Like, I can't imagine how easy it is. It's shooting fish in a barrel for him, I would imagine, on the recruiting trail, because his target list is so slim and his access to those targets is so vast, if that makes sense. And it's moving forward. It's why Georgia's going to continue to be a landing spot for even young guys like Uzo Duribe. Like that dude's going to get a DC job somewhere. Y'all going to have to replace him soon. I'm going to let y'all know that. I mean, he's been sitting up in the box with 3. Imagine this. And I know I'm ranting here. We're doing a collaborative show, but think about this, guys. And I think this is a good spinoff on who's been your favorite addition, because there's 4 of them to the coaching staff. Uzo Duribe, and we talked to Muschamp about this week. Uzo Duribe is the guy in the box right now on the headsets, relaying to Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann, what he is seeing from the box.
Yeah.
What he believes the defense is doing to them. And he's the only one with the bird's eye view. And they have given him that from snap one. And they have found a cohesiveness about that. To me, that blew my mind. And I couldn't imagine when you combine what he's done on the recruiting trail at the edge position and now what he's doing in that box on them headphones. That's nuts, guys.
That's some trust. It takes some balls to call down and tell Kirby and Will what they should be doing. Like, that ain't
what
easy.
you're seeing,
Ain't
like,
game.
could you imagine Kirby saying, well, I think they're playing quarters, and Uzo being like, nah, that's actually covered too, coach. The corners are just bailing a little bit too much because we're running deeper routes on the outside.
You better be right.
You better be right.
You better be right. Yeah, that's a heavy burden right there. But yeah, he's a stud. We've had some good additions. It's hard to pick one because you think about the recruiting McClendon's done. I mean, we don't get those 2 guys out of the portal without him.
No.
And then you think about like replacing a DB coach who was, highly touted. And I feel like our DBs have been unbelievable this year. Which I know that. I mean, Muschamp and Kirby are kind of the dogs on that end. So that's never going to be a drop off. Obviously, Duribe is the man. But yeah, I think McClendon's been unbelievable. I don't think we can sustain. We talked about it preseason, talking about how Kirby got to the presser in SEC Media Day and said, hey, we don't have much receiving depth. Like, he straight up pretty much said it. And then our number 1 goes down in game 1, and a lot of guys stepped up in big time ways. Like, we saw a lot of growth from Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint this year. And maybe it's not all goes to McClendon, but I'm going to credit a lot to him because I feel like he's done a heck of a job in that room.
I'll say this, and then we'll go to Griff. It's so funny that after Dominic Lovick and Robert Thomas announced that they were coming to Georgia, I heard some people say, what does this mean to our wide receiver room? Who do we lose? And they thought it was a negative thing. And I will remind you that Cole Wilcox just told you that in spring, okay, and actually in SEC Media Day, Kirby Smart said he only had 2 SEC wide receivers.
Yes.
Okay, so he just got 2 more. We'll go ahead down to Griff, and then we'll finish with Jake. Top the system, man.
I mean, Monken, man, like, we watched some. I mean, I don't want to say rough offensive coordinating jobs before him, but I mean, when you talk about Brian Schottenheimer, that was pretty hard to watch most of the time, and I still get nightmares from it. And James Coley, he wasn't my favorite either. And then Monk comes in and is just, I don't know, it was just such a breath of fresh air. And just what he's done with our offense and how like we don't even have to be explosive. We're just so like meticulous and just get down the field so easily against anybody. And I don't know, what he's done has just been incredible.
Efficiency is always the word that sticks out to me when I think about what Monken's done. It's just so efficient. I mean, it's never behind the sticks. I mean, think about it. I mean, how often does Georgia end up in like 3rd and 11? Like, I think the reason Georgia fans hated Bobo so much was because he was always running draw. But what the hell are you supposed to do on 3rd and 12, my guy?
Yeah, there's not a lot of play calls for 3rd and 12.
It's not.
But that's the thing about Monk is, you said it, Griff. He doesn't have to try to be explosive. He just allows the players to be explosive. Like, he just gets them the ball, and like that's why we recruit good athletes. Just give them the ball in some space and let them be explosive. You don't have to dial up big time plays. Just get the ball to playmakers.
Well, and two, like when people have talked about Stetson in every way, shape, and form that you can possibly imagine, and he put him in the Heisman race. I mean, he was in New York this year. Had a chance at winning a Heisman Trophy.
Nah, he didn't have a chance. Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, but he was there. He was there. He put him there.
Hey, we gotta give Jake the ball before he falls asleep. Jake,
I just wanted to read this. This has nothing to do with Monken. This is just something that I've had on my chest that I just want to say this is one of the closest things you're going to get to an NFL team in college football as a program. This is a quote from the starting quarterback. I don't really want to get into the particulars right now, but obviously they were undefeated until the last game of the season. Hilarious sneak diss, by the way. It's hard to do that. And we were too last year until we lost to Alabama. And then we ended up winning it all. So we certainly aren't taking Ohio State lightly. Like he said, they've got advantages all over the board. So we're going to have to go play football. Yeah. That's basically Stetson saying, fuck around and find out. That's all I'm hearing right there. I'm ready for this, man. I understand. You're going to media day. You want to be confident. You don't want to sit there and say, oh, we probably don't have a chance. I get that. We haven't given them anything. It's all Kirby Smart has those boys trained like AKC soldiers. Labs going out and duck hunting. You ask them a question and they are giving you the straightest answer they can. It's no guff. It's no nonsense. Those boys are ready. And that just makes me feel all the more confident because if they're answering questions like this, they're ready to play.
I will say this. I've been around them all week and I'll get to be back there tomorrow and, praise the Lord. But it's been fun. It's been a good time. But they had their one slip up, man. They got lobbed the wrong softball. They said the wrong thing. I was in the room when Jack Sawyer said it. And I gave him the opportunity to retract it today, and he did. And of course, everybody was like, "Well, you're soft for retracting it anyway."
It's just fans. No, it's just fans trying to jump on all of that.
Man. You should have just stood on it.
It's just fans that are trying to jump on that.
I know they.
I don't fault the kid. I don't fault the kid. Nothing that he said was wrong.
And that's what I told him. I was like, "Shit, like, bro, you're a 5-star. The dude sitting next to you is a 5-star. The guy sitting next to you is a 5-star." Yeah. I wanted to laugh out loud when Emeka Obuka said he'd been counted out his whole life. I'm like, what? You had 65 offers coming out of high school. The hell are you talking about?
The Will Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, but Will Anderson was from like Dutchtown, Georgia. Nobody was really paying attention. Senior year blew the hell up. He was on the radar. And that's, I honestly think, macro discussion. That's why they took CJ Anderson out of here in Atlanta in Cedar Grove a couple years ago, CJ Madden. That's why they took a player like that. They were worried about missing the next edge rusher from Atlanta that they didn't take or didn't have any interest in. So, man, I think Ohio State is an extremely talented football team. But
heck yeah.
How else but they're as media trained as Georgia was. I didn't feel like they gave a bunch of worthy quotes, but man, they slipped up that once, and that's all it takes, man. That's because it is. I guarantee they said it. I guarantee every single player on that football team knows, because as soon as Stetson answered the question, he was aloof. He wasn't aloof about it, but he was Stetson about it. And you guys know him better than I do. But he's a weird guy. He's a different guy, and I could feel a different tone in his voice when he answered that one. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, they do. You're right. They do have advantages all over the field." And he was doing that one the whole time.
Yeah, Brooks. Yeah, you said it, and it reigns true. People love to talk about, oh, this is bulletin board material. This is something you hang up in the locker room. If you need that right now, you lost. You lost before you got off the bus. You already lost.
I never understood it
from Connor Graham. It's a great question. We'll get to it at the end, or not the end. We'll get to it here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, just let us get warmed up. We're still stretching.
We got to build these hot takes, man. Hot takes are spontaneous. Yeah. I found this lately through the channel, man. It's originality. It's got to be off the cuff. The hottest takes come right off the top of the dome.
So let me get it started. It's hitting a really flaming hot take. I'm just getting loose. What the thing about Ohio State is, like, there's not many times I'm pulling for Alabama. Pretty much ever in my entire life. Florida, never going to pull for them, except when they're playing Ohio State. I despise this team. I despise everything about them. And it's grown. When they got Urban Meyer, obviously it got worse. And then when they got Ryan Day, it got even worse. Because this dude was handed a pot of gold, and all he's done is pee in it. Like, it's still a pot of gold. It's just got a little third.
Born on third and thinks he hit a triple. Jim Harbaugh. I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is an asshole. When he said that Ryan Day was born on third and thought he hit a triple, I've never heard a more accurate description of a coach in my entire life.
Wait a minute. He
Ryan
said
Day. Hey,
hey, Jim Harbaugh said it.
Oh, my God. That's
Connor,
bad blood.
You want your hot take?
Bad blood.
This isn't a hot take. This is Ohio State's Florida State Alabama game. You remember that game a couple years ago when Florida State played Alabama and their program just died? This is it. They've been running on fumes since Urban was there. It's over. We are going to crush them. They are going to get embarrassed. This is their Florida State Alabama game. They're done after this. Cooked. Finished.
Bro, y'all done got me fired up now. I mean, I was watching like
one super sub. That's it. That's all. Just stoking the fire bed right there, brother.
I was watching the it was like Sports Center before Florida State and Oklahoma came, or it might have been halftime, whatever. But they were talking about Georgia, Ohio State, and they were like, Ohio State has nothing to lose. I was like, what do you mean they have nothing to lose?
Their coach might get fired after they make the playoffs.
I mean, what a game are we talking about here that they have nothing to lose? This game gets you to the national championship. They have everything to lose. What,
I see Alex in the comments saying Kirby was handed a great program. Yeah, and then elevated it. Ryan Day has done nothing. It's stagnant.
I got to smell to this. Y'all want hot takes? Let's do it. All right, here we go. Look, man, I got to be honest. I'm so sick of this one. Even from Georgia fans, because y'all think Mark Richt years were just these like heaven on earth years. The 7-5 years happened for a reason, guys. And it's because Georgia recruited at like an annually top 10 level under Mark Richt, which is okay. It's nice. It's great. But like Oregon this year snuck into the top 10 in recruiting. South Carolina is going to get close to the top 10 in recruiting. Michigan, the last 5 years, has recruited amongst the top 10 in recruiting. And you know what the difference is between Mark Richt and Kirby Smart? The difference is between the roster that currently Michigan has that you saw at the Orange Bowl last year go up against Georgia, and the roster that Georgia now has that replenished 15 draft picks go out. Like, insane. You don't do this unless you work. Like, the difference between top 10 and top 3 is so far. It's like, I mean, it's a mile. It's an entire different zip code. They do not exist. 4 stars and 5 stars, there's a total difference. A 12 class of 12, 15 3 stars, and signing 4 3 stars that people make fun of Kirby Smart for, by the way, 3 of which probably end up in the NFL per this rate. That matters. The dude's ripping on the recruiting trail, and he's not going to miss. And it definitely shows up on Saturdays in these types of environments. Ohio State, however, and we can talk about this, guys, is one of the only 2, Alabama and Ohio State, that can man for man say we got just as much talent, which is why I think you guys.
You know who else could say that? You know who else could say that too?
Why you guys have been flaming on Ryan Day. Go ahead.
Louisiana State, the LSU Tigers. They could all. No, I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. LSU is one of the top 5 most talented teams in the country, usually no matter what. LSU always has plenty of talent. And we saw a fraud like Brian Kelly. He's just like that beady-eyed little Butch Jones copycat up there in Columbus. We saw him step up to the plate, just like Brian Kelly did. Guess what? He's going to get his lunch eat.
I hope he's not watching tonight. Hey, we're on Twitter.
I hope Brian Day is watching.
I'll be
He's putting it on the bulletin board.
A lot of folks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, if I'm in Ryan Day's head before this game, I did my job.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk bulletin board material too, like, you know, Ohio State had a bulletin board full of material for 365 days and still went up against Michigan.
They got their panties pulled down at home by 21.
I mean, come on.
Giving up 8 yards a carry. No. That was my favorite thing, too, is all these Ohio State fans on Twitter. They were talking about, oh, you're a casual. You didn't know Michigan got half of those yards on 2 runs. Oh, well, I guess those just didn't count, though. We don't count those yards.
God, dude. Look, no, this is perfect. It's perfect. I queued these up for this right here. God dang it. This is why you come to the Film Guy Network, because you're going to mess around, find out today. Here we go. We got to show it. All right, look. This is them first play of the game, okay? Safeties are at 8 yards. They've been a 3-high team all year. You watch them play against Wisconsin, them some bitches is at 12 yards. They got 3 safeties all the way back there. They ain't even worried about the run. They're like, we're going to handle it. We're going to handle our business with these big old jokers right here up front, okay? And then all of a sudden, they go start to play Michigan, and look here. These dudes are at 8.5, 9 yards, both safeties. And look where their eyes are. First play of the game, cued in right on the backfield, okay? How about this? This is the, like, midway through the 3rd quarter. Same exact formation.
They look little.
Same exact, that too. We're going to show you that here in a second. Okay, look at this. Look at how much closer they are, and look how many more freaking bodies are in the box. All right, now, Cole and Jake, I love that you did the look at the asses. Look at the asses, look at the quads, look at the ankles, look at the calves.
They too little.
All right, look at this. I mean, I love that you guys did this because y'all know football. Here we go. Boom. This is Georgia. Same formation, very similar, 11 personnel. Okay, look. 3
God.
down linemen. Check it. Robert Beal split out. He's splitting difference between 2 and the tight. Don't even care about the run. 2 linebackers in the box. The nickel, he's going to walk out over number 2. The safeties, they're at 13 yards. 13 yards. Okay? So what is the difference? What does this matter? Why does this matter?
Bigger,
It's everything.
stronger.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Exactly, gentlemen. It is talent acquisition. It is roster. It is resource allocation. It is simple. They are dedicating way too many bodies to the box to stop the run. They have been against good football teams all year long, whereas Georgia on the other end has never, ever, ever, not since Jordan Davis became something 8 weeks into the season in 2018, have they ever struggled to stop the run. And guess
That would
what?
be like
They probably won't.
if we attributed more guys to the box, that'd be like Kirby sitting down to pee. That'd be like way too disrespectful
No,
for
it
him
would
to
be
ever
like
think
it would
about
be like
doing.
Kirby taking 90 snaps and throwing it 65 times a game. That's what it would be.
You know what's funny though? Before I get to my point, is imagine being JJ McCarthy, who's like oozing with talent, like just supreme talent to give.
And
He
confidence.
looks up, he watched film against them playing Wisconsin, and Graham Mertz is quarterback, and they're at 12 yards, and then he looks up and sees the safety at 8 yards, and you're him. You're like,
Yeah.
what on earth is going on?
Hey,
But
hey, I
the thing
like-
about this,
I
though,
like-
Hey, bro, what kind of disrespect I'm getting right now?
yeah, I mean,
I
I would laugh
like
out loud.
JT on Ohio State. Let me tell
he's
you
a beast.
something. I watched Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo. If David Ajabo had not torn his Achilles, God bless him, because I do very much like David Ajabo as a player. Very good player. David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson, those are 2 top 15 picks. I saw him in Rikers. I saw him in solitary confinement. I saw him locked up. What makes you think Jack Sawyer and JT? I'm not scared of these guys. What do they have? Tell me,
All time,
they're 122nd in red zone defense.
So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I saw these guys this week, right? Like I think I'm one of the best eyeball scouts in the world. I think I can walk up on you and tell you your height and weight within a quarter of an inch and 10 pounds, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter where you live, whatever, right? I walked up on all these guys. I think I just froze. I woke up on all these guys, and I'm gonna tell you what, 9, the Wilson guy, does not look that big, dude. Hey, Cole, you're a full 6'5", and you'll know this. Cole and Griff, you're normal size human beings, so you can answer this. 6'4" and 6'5.5" are 2 totally different human beings.
Yes.
6'4" is like, damn, that guy's kind of big. 6'5.5" is holy shit, that's a giant. Like you walk up on somebody 6'5.5" with like a thick body, like Broderick Jones. You walk up on somebody 6'7" with a thick body like Xavier Truss.
Isaiah
You walk
Wilson.
up on somebody like Warren McClendon or Marius Mims, who's 6'7", 315. You feel an overwhelming presence of shit. This human being is big. I didn't feel a single bit of that from anybody but the Tuamaloa kid. JT Tuamaloa is a massive human being. That dude is
that's a
6'4.5", 283.
Hey, look,
The rest of them? I don't know.
We like to talk a lot of smack. We like to chirp. JT's a good player, very, very good player. But hey, like I said, I saw Aiden Hutchinson. I didn't hear his name all night. Didn't hear David Ajabo's name all night. Not worried about
It was
him.
the same thing we sat here. Us
Harold
four talked
Perkins.
about before the Tennessee game. What was the key to Georgia beating Tennessee? Well, it was only having to have so many in the box to stop the run. And if we could play everybody else on the outside with no safety help, we were good. So, like, if Ohio State's having to do this against Michigan, they're going to have to do it against us. And if they don't, we just talked about Monk and being able to exploit that kind of stuff. Like, if they know, if we see them on film and they're saying, we know we can't stop Michigan with the normal box, we got to add to it. What
Well,
does he
we're
think
good
they're going to do to us?
A lot of their players quit. I mean,
I don't know,
Travion
but
Henderson, he quit. He
I'm
knew
gonna
it was
get
coming.
clipped so hard because I grabbed the wrong name.
Hey, yeah.
Called him Wilson. He's
Well, that's fine.
That's what they'll hang on
So
to.
it doesn't really matter.
Hey, no, you said the number.
You're picking out of quitters. I mean, it's fine. JSN, he quit. Travion Henderson, he quit. They're hurt. Well, you know, AD Mitchell was hurt all year. Nolan Smith will still be on the sideline. They quit. They all quit. They're quitters. They're soft. They're a soft football team with a soft coach.
I don't think they're soft. I think their coach is soft, and they didn't feel like risking it for him.
They're
So I
being
don't
led by
blame them.
Butch Jones, man. I'm telling you, this is post
These are
Jimbo
hot.
Florida State. This is post Jimbo Florida State.
These are
as soon as Urban Meyer left, Ryan Day has been running off fumes. He won 6 games in 2020 and made it to the Natty and thought he was something special. That year doesn't even count in my eyes. You have done nothing since Urban Meyer left. You have gotten smoked in every single big moment. Oh my God. Jim Harbaugh has got y'all bent over his knee just every single time in your home stadium by 21. You got embarrassed in your home stadium. And now your players are saying, we don't want no part of Georgia. What do you think is going to happen?
Jake's on one, boys.
He is
Jake
fired
is on
up.
one. This is like
I'm
this
going to
is
be
like
there Saturday.
1%.
Jake, I'm
Jake.
stadium.
Honestly, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting there like,
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's off the cuff at this point.
Yeah,
We're
no
full
doubt
play.
about it. No doubt about it.
Oh,
I know
trigger
those
warning
Ohio
every time
State
Jake
fans are
talks.
typing as fast as
Dude, they're
they're
Wi-Fi will
chat.
get it
That's
in.
what I'm saying. They're in the chat. I mean, and
As
here's
fast
the other
as-
thing. I YouTube's like search engine algorithm is dumb strong. So Ohio State fans, the Bucky's gonna find this. All
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna see Jake on like Sam
Yeah,
Block or
you're all over it.
Buckeye
They're
Nation
gonna
or
clip
something.
me and say
That's
this
okay.
I'm dumb.
Hey,
Don't even know this
it's
guy's
just like
name.
Tennessee.
It's gonna be over
It's just
with.
like when all these Tennessee fans were in here talking about their little gimmick offense. Let me tell you something. You want some real football analysis? Every time I see some interior pressure on CJ Stroud, he folds like a cheap tent. Every time he gets some interior pressure, his eyes get about as big as dinner plates, and he don't know what the hell to do. And you know who we got on the interior? 88. Good luck.
Hey, not to confirm his hot takes right there. But I will say this. CJ Stroud fades to his left and tries to be a superhero with his arm way too often. And granted, he is a superhero to some extent. I think he is.
I think CJ Stroud's good, by the way. I'm not discrediting
Hey,
him.
I would take him over all of them. I want Ohio State fans to clip this. I would take him over Bryce Young because I think he's going to last longer. I think he's super talented with his arm, but Bryce Young scares the shit out of me. He scares me so bad. I had a really, really good draft analyst that I respect the other day tell me that they think Bryce Young does a good job avoiding hits. Dude, did you watch the Tennessee game? That dude about died the entire game. He was holding the football. He was holding the football when he wasn't supposed to. He was cutting back against the grain when he wasn't supposed to. He was diving headfirst into end zones for 2-point conversions when he wasn't supposed to. He was playing reckless human football at 5'7.5", 165 pounds soaking wet. So,
but I love
CJ
Bryce Young
Stroud.
for that.
Yeah, he's a dog.
He's a
dog.
He wants it.
He is a dog.
Dude,
he is a dog, guys. He's
that's
a dog.
the difference.
But guess what? The NFL is filled with a whole bunch of people who will break your spinal cord in half. They play way faster. Like the biggest of biggest get hurt in the NFL. Cam Newton's body died on him. Like it's different.
Tough.
Like I know he played in the SEC. I know they protect the quarterback position. I understand that. Joe Burrow's also had a knee injury since he's been in pro football. I mean, like all these guys that hold on to the rock trying to play superhero football, they get hurt. They eventually get hurt, and he will get hurt, and it scares me. I don't have the same concerns about CJ Stroud, and I also don't have the same concerns about CJ Stroud that I normally do about Ohio State quarterbacks, which is they're half-field readers. All Ohio State quarterbacks have been first stick, get it out, second stick, go. CJ Stroud has actually worked progressions this year, which might cause concern, but guess what? They ain't protected well enough to actually let him get through progressions. If you watch him, if you actually show up and watch the film, he is diving out by the time he's hitting his checks. He is diving out by the time he's hitting his third read. He is diving out by the time he is actually having to get the ball out and process what he is seeing. So though he is processing, the interior offensive line play is not near good enough for them to sit there and think that he can, dissect the defense that has quote unquote struggles in the back end.
Hey, by the way, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think all four of us have the utmost respect for Josh Pate, right? I think we think he's the man. So I was listening to him the other day, and he was saying he made a really good point. He was talking about Georgia pressure. That was the thing going into Tennessee. Like, we don't get any pressure. Dogs don't get any pressure. Hendon Hooker's going to have all the time he wants. Well, they were able to pick and choose times to attack Hendon Hooker, and we had a lot of sacks. But the scare with Hendon Hooker was he can run too. Hendon Hooker will use his legs, and he's willing to. Josh Pate made a good point. Like, CJ Stroud is able to.
He's got 32 carries on the year.
but is he willing to?
No.
Is he willing to? That's the
and by
difference.
the way, in college football, your carries are included in your sacks, or your sacks rather are included in your carries.
And so when Georgia had to decide when they wanted to bring pressure and had to like do it at certain times, if you know where somebody's going to be every single time they drop back, you're not near as scared to bring pressure to that spot at all, because you know exactly where he is going to be. You can pin your ears downhill and get after him because you know he does not want to run the ball.
Cole, it's interesting that you say that. I've studied about 9 quarters of Ohio State offense, and when they moved them right. That's it. They scan protected him right. They scan protected him a little bit left, but it wasn't like heavy play action, stretch left, boot right. You know, it wasn't like, hey, we're gonna throw this football outside the tackle box. It was very, very much so
Ryan
pick and
Day's not
stick
cooking
offense.
Ryan Day's not cooking that up. You don't know what he's doing. Elks,
I don't like to do that stuff because I respect the offensive stuff that he's built. But I will say this about Ryan Day, and I will say this about a lot of football coaches. I think there are 2 different football coaches, and you guys can attest to this, and you guys can agree with this or disagree with this in the comments. There are 2 types of football coaches, and I've said this week a bunch. There is the one type of football coach who kind of just, we do what we do, and we're going to do it. And if it works, we're going to beat the hell out of you today. And if it, works to a medium extent, we're going to win a shootout. And if it doesn't work at all, we're going to lose by a couple touchdowns. Okay. We do what we do. Our coaches are typically offensive coaches, right? Lincoln Riley is very much so a we do what we do football coach. The Shanahan tree, very much so a we do what we do football coach. Josh Heupel, thank you. Very much so a we do what we do football coach. Sean McVay, 100%. We do what we do football coach. You can win doing what you do, 100% at the highest level of football. That's fine. And guess what? You're going to win a ton of football games if what you do is 1,000% elite. But I'm going to tell you what kind of football coaches change week in and week out. I mean, from Mississippi State to Tennessee to Kentucky to Georgia Tech, they're running completely different offenses and defenses. From Seattle to Tennessee to the New York Jets to the Miami Dolphins, they're running completely different offenses and defenses. The 2 names, Smart, Belichick. The 3rd, Saban.
Yeah,
that's it. There are 2 coaches. We do what we
I think you cut out, Brooks.
Yeah, you cut out.
You cut out. It looks like you're spitting facts, though. Brooks, I think you cut out a little bit, Brooks.
Yeah.
You're spitting facts, Brooks, but you cut out a little bit. Can you hear us?
Let me go ahead and talk to all these. You're still muted. I don't know if you muted yourself. Let me talk to these Ohio State fans real quick. I see a lot of y'all making comments about Keely Ringo, and I understand why you're making these comments. You're really paying attention to the wrong games. You probably watched maybe Georgia Tech and for some reason LSU. By the way, let me give y'all a tip if you want to really sound smart around all your friends. We sat in zone against LSU for 90% of the game, and we don't ever do that. We're never going to do that again. We will be pressing you. It will be man coverage. Pretty simple. Keely Ringo.
You're gonna have to listen. Keely Ringo is a specimen human being. Boys.
When people think that Keely Ringo is about to get picked on, that's when he comes out and absolutely whips the man across from him. So I'd be real careful talking about Keely Ringo, because that's really what you don't want to play. In games like this, that's when Keely Ringo does his best work.
He's tough, man. I mean, he is freaking. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. Like, he's a specimen human being. You're not going to out tough him. When we play press man,
you better worry about 3
to work.
You better worry about 3. If you don't know the name Kamari Lassiter, you'll know it on Sunday. You better learn about 3.
Dude, that's what I love about this game. That's what I was going to get to. So it was just like Tennessee, where it comes in, everybody's like, "Oh, Georgia got screwed with this match. It was a bad matchup for Georgia." And dude, our DBs are back there licking their chops, dude, because they have been unbelievable all year. You know, there's just some dogs back there, dude. Javon Bullard, Malachi Starks, Chris Smith, Keely Kamari. When I think of those guys, I just think dogs. And they're hearing it. They are hearing it just like us. They're not freaking robots, boys. They're on Twitter. They're doing this stuff. They're hearing it. It's a bad matchup. You know, how to beat Georgia's over the top. I mean, you have to play an unbelievable game to beat those guys. And if you beat them once, you ain't going to beat them again. Like, it ain't going to be consistent. They get beat once, they take pride. They take they take offense to it, and they're going to get up in your face. They're going to punch you in the throat, and they're going to get right back on the ball. It's going to be tough. You might hit a big play or two, but I promise it ain't going to come very often.
You look just like Jalen Hyatt. You want to see something. You go look up Georgia, Tennessee full game highlights, whatever. They got to throw a couple Tennessee highlights in there. They'll show you a Jalen Hyatt 12-yard catch. You know what happens after that? Stop. Mm-hmm. That's the thing is people think that they can pick on Keely Ringo. That's just not how that works. When Keely and Stetson are a lot alike in that way. And it's very funny because they're very opposite players. Keely was very highly touted coming out of high school. Stetson, obviously a walk-on. Whenever everybody thinks they're about to fold, they have their biggest games. And I promise you, this whole we're going to pick on Keely Ringo, don't count on it. Let me tell you that for free. I'll tell you that for free right now. Don't count on it.
No. He's like – he's a dog, dude. Like I'm telling you, he's gonna play. I'm glad you said that, Jake, because that's whatever. I mean, they're gonna figure it out, but he's the man.
Hey, McGrizzle, I hope the Buckeyes are hearing me right now. I hope they ain't practicing. I hope they're listening to me right now.
We didn't even say anything disrespectful to the Buckeyes. We're talking about Keely.
I didn't say something disrespectful to Ryan Day. I said he's a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
What's he gonna do? Come fight you?
He's about to be. He's going to make a really, really good shift leader at Jiffy Lube one day because if Hardball beats him one more time, he's cooked. Let me tell you what, he's going to lose game Saturday. He's going to probably go 10-1 next year going into the Michigan game. They're going to lose to Michigan again, and they're going to have him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big spot for him. Like, seriously, I didn't think there was a scenario. Well, I guess Michigan, there's a lot of pressure on Harbaugh this year. I think for the first game, like you got to get the championship this year. Like you got there this year. Now you got TCU, who you're almost a double-digit favorite against. There's pressure there, I believe. But I didn't think there was a scenario other than Michigan where we could play someone and there's more pressure. Oh, we heard you there.
We got you now. Yes, there you go.
There we go.
I didn't think there was a scenario where we could play a team where I feel like the other team's coaching staff had more pressure on them than Kirby and the boys, like to repeat as champions, blah, blah, all that stuff. Like it's all right now on them. They are feeling the heat way more than Kirby and his staff are feeling it right now.
I'll tell you what, Ohio State is really, really lucky that it's going to be us whipping their ass on Saturday and not Michigan. Because if it was Michigan, tough, Ryan Day is gone, and your program, dude, you guys are in shambles. You get beat twice.
Would be tough for them.
You get beat twice by your biggest rival in the same year. One time in a playoff game, you're in trouble.
Let me tell you right now, boys, you're not playing Maryland. You ain't playing Northwestern. You ain't playing Michigan State.
You ain't playing Wisconsin.
Yeah. You're gonna get the hurt put on you. That's all I got to say about that. But hey, no, one of my very good friends who is a diehard, like one of the biggest Ohio State fans I know. I still love him to death. Obviously, we've unfortunately come into this situation. We've been civil about it, but one of my very best friends, we've talked about this, and he genuinely thinks. He says if he's not optimistic about the game. He says if Ohio State does beat Georgia, and he says if Michigan beats Ohio State in the national championship, he says he does think Ryan Day gets fired.
Dude, that's like imagine
he said he would be the first coach to get fired after making a national championship, and I said I don't think that's crazy.
It ain't just the fan base too. Have you guys noticed? Maybe you guys haven't. Have you guys noticed how many times
Missouri would kick Ohio State's ass? I'm afraid to break it to you.
Have y'all noticed in pressers how many times Ohio State players have mentioned the Mizzou game?
They love to bring up. They love to bring up Mizzou. They love to bring up Kent State. They don't like to talk about Oregon. They don't like to talk about Mississippi State.
Example for success, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I mean, that's awesome. If you think you can catch Georgia sleeping, first of all. Right. If you can hope they come out flat. If you also hope that 2 of their first 3 possessions end in turnover in their own end, by the way. Yeah. If you want to hope all those things happen, that's fine. And here's the deal. I'll get into my prediction now. It's super early for me, but I'm going to hammer it down anyways. I think this is like a 41-34 football game that Ohio State scores late in. Like, I think Georgia is 18 to 20 points better than this football team. And the only thing that makes me, like, when I do these things, I said the same thing about LSU. I said the same thing about Tennessee. And when I say these things, I feel really nervous because we're talking about college football. And all it takes is a couple of early turnovers and some flat football players for this to be like hot takey and stupid. But Georgia is a 14-point better football team than who they are playing Saturday. On tape, they're 20 points better, in my opinion. So that's where I stand. I think there's way too many holes. Like, we can do all the hot take stuff, but Ohio State, A, has to dedicate way too many bodies to the box to stop the run. B, I don't think they have elite defensive back and corner play to really think that they can live in man-to-man coverage, despite the fact that Georgia doesn't exactly have world beaters at receiver. I'm aware of that, but you're also going to have to dedicate bodies to Bowers as well. So I also know that throughout their year, they've really had kind of tough like roads with 12 personnel football teams. People put them in 12. They don't really know what to do. Georgia puts teams in predicaments in 12 worse than anybody. Offensively, man, they have a really, really hard time consistently maintaining lanes. Like defensive rush, defensive coverage, they have a hard time maintaining their areas of coverage and their rush integrity, their gap integrity. That's like the worst combination to ever play against Todd Monken. That dude eats those people alive. He eats them alive. If you got corners, safeties, linebackers with their eyes in the wrong spot, he kills you for 4 quarters. So I think it's that kind of football game. That's what the tape says to me. Granted, again, college football, it could happen.
Brooks,
but I don't think this is the one.
I appreciate that. And you know what? This is a Georgia fan page, so I'll say what you don't want to say. They're soft. They're soft as fucking baby shit.
I didn't say that.
You know what? We can come out there and we could lay an egg. We could play
I didn't say that, but I did see J.J. McCarthy roll through a safety from Ohio State. Like, roll through him.
You know what? We could come out there and we could play our worst game. That's a very – it's possible. Absolutely. That 100%. Happens every single week. We could come out there. We could play our worst game. And you know what? It wouldn't matter because they're fucking soft. We're going to go out there. We're going to push them around. And as soon as they tote that red ass back to Ohio after they got spanked again, it's just like Michigan, baby. We're bigger. We're stronger. We're faster than Michigan. We're going to play the same style of football, and we're going to rub your nose in it. And you know what? I hope you don't hit traffic on the way back.
I'll say this too.
It's just
when you talk about
I'm fired up, man. I'm going to be there Saturday. I got to get ready. I'm already ready.
When you talk
about, better wear a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, dog.
When you talk about it's college football, anything can happen too. You know, you also have to think about the fact that the guy that we have under center in big games like this, especially this year and at the end of last year, the most recent games you can think of, he showed up and he doesn't turn the ball over. He has been nails when it comes to these big time games. And so, I mean, dude, I've seen a lot of people talk about Stet, and you know, I saw a quote from at a press conference. He was like, "Listen, I can't worry about what everybody's saying. Like, obviously, I'm not going to change their mind. I guess I'm just too ugly or something." I mean, he's not worried about that, and I mean, you know, no matter what you say, he's still going to torch you on Saturday. So,
one thing about that Missouri game that keeps getting brought up, and I've been done defending that thing for a long time. But that game is like where Georgia found their identity in a lot of areas. Brooks, you talk about it with the offensive line.
Particularly in the run game.
We played our worst game
about this today.
But there was one clip I saw the other day, and I've kind of forgotten about it. It's when Pop Johnson got all over Kamari on the sideline.
Hell yeah.
Think about Kamari since then. He's been one of the best players on our defense. Like, he's been that guy. And I didn't really think about that until the other day. I saw that clip again. I'm like, dude, since then he has been as good as any corner in the country.
And I'll be honest with you, Colt. I've studied, I would say 90% of the defensive snaps since then. I can't remember an obvious like bust, right?
Dude,
I'm not talking about like Malachi took a bad angle trying to intercept a pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about Keely just didn't quite get his head around. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about getting beat. I'm talking about bust. Like a straight up, damn, that guy's wide open. Why is he? I don't remember one of those.
The Florida game is the only one I remember. There was one on the sideline.
And that was Malachi trying to shortcut around.
He tried to jump it.
Yeah. So he was there.
That's a true
He had deep quarters. Yeah. He was supposed to be in the quarters drop, cover 2 drop right there. So
I don't know about you,
that's what I'm saying. It hasn't been like, oh, Georgia got caught with their pants down, 45-yard explosive, 60-yard explosive.
Right.
It's been damn, Keyshawn Bootsy's great with the ball in his hands after the
Yeah,
catch. Shit, he
special.
just ran for 47 yards. That was impressive.
Right.
And
You
like I said, Ohio State fans, I know y'all are in here. If y'all want a tip, you go ahead and tell all your friends, say, hey, Georgia ran a lot of zone against LSU. They really don't do that very often because we ain't going to do it against you. I'll tell you that for free.
I don't know about you, Brooks, but I've said this about Kamari. Like, I can talk about him forever because I've been more impressed with him, like, coming into a Georgia uniform as any player I can remember. Because you're coming in opposite of a guy who's, like, in all
He's
media
royalty.
pundits.
He was already royalty.
Right. He's a top 10 pick. He's not going to get picked on. So whoever's coming in on the other side of him, they better be ready to roll. And he got picked on for like the first 3 games. And it was just kind of like, okay, he's getting picked on, but there ain't much happening over there right now. And now it's to the point, like, we can't throw on him. And coming into that role and stepping up to the challenge like that is as impressive as any guy stepping into a role as I've seen in a long time.
It's so funny because, like,
That's awesome.
you hear about these things very, like, I remember hearing the word alpha thrown around about Kamari like 2 weeks into him being on campus. And guys, the same stuff's being said right now about AJ Harris. I don't tweet those things if I don't believe them.
Love
Okay.
that.
I don't tweet about freshmen beating 5th-year seniors in drills unless I was right there watching it. You think I didn't know who 10 was when I tweeted about who is 10 beating Chris Smith? We knew who 10 was, okay, because Kirby was calling his ass out on the loudspeaker, like talking about how he's competing. So everyone knew. We were all there. Kamari was the same way. And, like, I'm with you, Cole. It's not always guaranteed that they're going to perform. It's not always guaranteed that they're going to go out there and lock it up. And it's particularly not guaranteed that, like, he's automatically versatile. That, like, week 1, they can do something schematically in terms of flipping field and boundary for the first time under Kirby Smart. Hadn't seen that done. But they were willing to do it Kamari's first career start. So that just shows you, like, they kind of put trust into both those guys all year. And, man, you know when there's 2 alphas in those rooms because they don't move off of them. When they got 3 guys, they play 3 guys. Yeah. When they got 2 dudes, the 2 guys play, and that's it. And that's what it's been this year, and they've been locked on. And I have gone to bat for it. I've defended Keeley. I've defended Kamari because I think it's a little horseshit every time they get called out on social media because people don't really know what they're looking at. Honestly.
No, that's the thing about corner.
90% of people do not know how to watch film at all.
Being a corner in big time football is like one of the worst positions to play just because, like, 90% of public that watches football, it's your fault. If you're anywhere near.
We got 300 people in here. I'd like to make it really, really easy for you. If their butts are to the sideline, anything given up underneath is not their fault. Shut the hell up. If their butt is to the sideline, anything they give up underneath is not their fault. Shut the hell up.
Yep.
Period. If their butt is to the sideline, they get beat over the top. Talk your shit, fam. Period.
Hey, now go watch all the plays you thought Keeley got beat and go see where his butt was facing.
It's so simple. I'm like, don't go out there trying to disguise or trying to diagnose whether or not it's cover 6, cover 4, cover 2, cover 3. Don't do that shit. Butt to the side for corner play. Butt to the sideline, shoulder square. If their shoulders are square, they're in man technique. If their butt's to the sideline, they're in zone. That's it. Simple.
Yeah.
Attack it thusly moving forward.
All right, Bruce, let's talk then. How's Ohio State going to attack Georgia? I know you broke down the offense.
Let me correct you real quick. How are they going to try to attack Georgia? Because they're going to try to do similar things to Tennessee. They don't have any running backs. Their RB1, he quit because he knew it was going to happen. He didn't want to run for 1.8 yards per carry. He was soft. We'll go ahead and keep moving.
All right, Travion Henderson, first of all, had a foot sprain that he played against Michigan, or at least dressed up against Michigan and tried to play. I believe. Ohio State fans.
Yeah, he
correct
did.
me if I'm wrong.
Ohio State fans will say he got it amputated because they'll just say whatever.
he ended up electing to have the surgery. You can call that whatever you want. I call it a guy having some foot injury. I also know that John Fitzpatrick played with basically an entirely fucked up both feet for the entire.
John Fitzpatrick had a club foot. He didn't play. He played for the Falcons.
Stories about that. Buddy had like multiple ligaments torn up and down all of his feet, like both of his feet. He had like shattered like a bunch of like metaparsals, whatever, his little bones in his feet, and shattered everything. Shouts out to Nike. The cleats are tremendous. But nonetheless, like there's an example of people playing through this, but I'm not gonna knock kids for not playing through that.
No, absolutely not. I am, by the way, Travion Henderson, sure, he's a nice kid. I am 100% just talking shit. Let's get that out of the way. Go ahead.
What were we even talking about?
I don't know. But when you said
something
that,
about
Brooks,
their run game, you said, how are they going to attack?
Oh, yeah. How are they going to attack them?
That was it. How would they attack you? All right. So here's the deal. Ohio State, like every pace and space offense, is predicated on first down success. Okay. And what that means is they have to be able to run the football on first down. And if they can't, last time we did this, I lost my audio, so I hope this doesn't happen. But here's the success, right? For every one of these pace and space offenses, you have to be able to run the football on first down against what you have forced to be light boxes. And what do I mean by that? I mean, offensively, you have spread everyone out and you have threatened so much so outside of the tackle box that people have allocated resources out that way. So in a situation like Ohio State, they play Stozier, who is an H-back. I call him a sniffer around these places. He plays within the box majority of the time. He will motion in and out, help in it on the screen game, helping all that stuff out in the flats. But most of the time when it comes to the run game, he is adding in, which means they have 6 blockers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 5 down linemen, the H-back, and they have a running back and a quarterback who is a non-threat, which means Georgia has to be able to and willing to stop the run with 6. Oftentimes, knowing Georgia, they will do so with 5. What does that mean? That means 6, sometimes 7 guys are completely playing the pass. That right there is how you stop Ohio State from attacking you, which is first down success. If Ohio State is living in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2, because they have had so much success via the screen game quickly into the flat on first down or the run game on first down, you will see yourself getting bombed on. But they are not going to take shots on 2nd and 11. On 2nd and 11, they're going to do what we call get back plays. They're going to try to get back the yardage that they lost on first down. So that's the answer, Cole. It's not simple. It's not easy, but it's no different than any other pace and space offense. The guys that throw it for 400 yards a game, the guys that got all the receivers that you worry about, it does not matter. If I know and everyone else in the building knows you're throwing the football because you have been made to throw the football, you have been forced to throw the football because running has no longer become successful,
right?
You're screwed.
It's
You're
impossible.
done.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it.
Here. I got you.
And what's crazy is or not crazy. Everybody knows they have the guys to be able to do that and execute that game plan because they're supremely talented on the outside.
And that's the other thing I was going to say. If the offense, if winning offense doesn't work, if first down success doesn't work, then we call it downset hut, chuck it up offense. Downset hut, get
I
to your
call it the
third
fuck
step
it and
and
chuck
throw
it,
it
but
up.
thank you. That's a much more
And
PG-friendly term.
They're as good at downset hut, chuck it up as anybody in college football.
Right.
I'll say that.
When you got a dude throwing the ball and you got dudes catching it.
They got 2 of them. I think Emeka in the slot, if he has no safety help, he'll win. I'm telling you, I love Javon Ballard. He'll beat him. He will. If he's got no safety help, Emeka will beat him.
Yeah.
And eventually, if he's given 6 or 7 reps at it on go balls, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to win, guys. He's going
at some point. That's what good players do. They win a few times.
Jalen Hyatt won a few. Jalen Hyatt, won a few. Now, here's my main question. Let's talk keys to the game. I want to go around the horn and I want to do keys to the game. I always love this. I love this quote. They did it mic'd up one day in the NFL. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. He used to go up. He said, "Who's going to guard 85?" I'm going to ask you, who's going to guard 19? Because we saw Todd Monken in that LSU game. I always heard the little tee-hees and hee-hees and ha-has about how Georgia doesn't throw to Brock Bowers. It's because we don't empty the clip on poverty teams like Ohio State does. Ohio State feels like they got to prove something to go out there and whoop Maryland by 60. They got to feel like they got something to prove. Now, we saw that when we needed it against LSU. 19 got the ball 3 times on the first drive. Who going to guard 19? Who?
The schematical answer is that it's not one guy.
Can't.
Every team tries to high-low him. They try to put a safety over him and a linebacker underneath him. But Ohio State is different in the sense that the only time they've faced a 12 personnel team that actually can run the football successfully, their safeties have been in like man-to-man coverage against tight ends. Now they do that against
I'm glad you brought that up. Now, who runs the ball really well between the tackles?
Georgia.
Now, I'm starting to piece some things together. So let's
they
say
do
Georgia
that out
starts
of 12 as well.
Yeah, no, let's say Georgia starts running the ball between the tackles real well. Those safeties start walking up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Who gonna guard 19?
Nobody. So, and this is the funny thing. I fed this one to my boy Evan Kroll, who writes for us at Dawgs Daily. He was with me at the press conferences. I said, hey, ask that defensive coordinator how he counts it, how he counts Brock Bowers and Darnell on the field, because how you count it as a defensive coordinator, I'm putting y'all on game here, how you count it will tell me how you defend it. Okay, so if you count Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington on the field as 12 personnel, you'll play regular. You'll put an additional linebacker on the field, which means the linebacker is going to have to either cover or play underneath Bowers, right? Okay, or you will play base personnel, right? You will play base personnel against Bowers and Darnell. You will play a nickel package like everybody else plays in college football because you're so worried about Bowers beating you as a weapon.
Right.
So here's what Georgia has done, like moving through the season. If you play base personnel against their 12, they spread you out. They go 3-by-1. They put Darnell on the end of the line of scrimmage, and they put Brock Bowers next to him in the slot. They put him at extended off of the line of scrimmage outside the box. Make you spread the box, make you put a linebacker over him. And if you play nickel, they play them both attached. So now you have this nickel corner standing inside the box trying to stop counter.
Oh, no. One fun thing that you haven't mentioned. So let's say you guess, because like we talked about, you're guessing at that point. Let's say
you're
you guess
100%
correctly.
guessing.
Let's say you guess correctly. There's a one-on-one with A.D. Mitchell on the outside.
100%.
That's what I was going to get to.
Good luck.
Or let's say you guess correctly, there's still a light box.
Right.
There's still like you still had to move assets outside the box for them to they can run the football.
No, that's what I mean. I've made jokes on Twitter multiple times about AD coming back and stuff, Revers and JSN. But like it seriously is one of the biggest parts of the game for me is having him back. A guy who can consistently win one-on-ones on the outside like he can is so vital in this game because that's what they're going to have to. They're going to have to stop that first and be like, hey, he can beat us. He's the only guy who can beat us. We can try our best to stop everything that goes on in here. He has to beat us, and AD is able to.
I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it's been 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 14 weeks, 15 weeks, 16 weeks. I got to see AD Mitchell do it. I know he played a bunch of snaps in the SEC championship game, but before we're out here talking about AD Mitchell being AD Mitchell, can I see AD Mitchell be AD Mitchell?
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
You look fast to get
first because it's been weird. It's been weird, man.
Unfortunately for me, I've gotten my hopes up because my people on the inside have said he's been cooking guys for 6 weeks.
And I'm with you too.
Yeah.
But I am a guy that when it comes to ankle injuries, I gotta see you he's an alpha. Go look at him when he's healthy. Go look at him against Oregon, bro.
Oh,
he is the most energetic human being on the planet. He wants to fucking murder people during the football game. It's not what I've seen. And maybe we see it Friday. Maybe we see it Saturday. But until we see that, I don't know if he's him, right? The AD Mitchell, the Mo Money Mitchell that we know from Houston, that boy a dog. He ain't a puppy. He a dog. So we got to go see some dog before we are out here feeling comfortable on 3rd and 9.
No doubt about it.
I'm not rebutting you here.
That's
he
the only
looked
time
fast against LSU, and there was a guy who had a number 1 on his back last year that come back for the playoffs, and he made a couple big plays, and that's all I need out of him. And I think that's all we need right now. I think we just need a couple big plays. I don't need him getting 15 catches a game.
Around the horn, I'll be answer. I'll quick. No.
I saw one play. He got past them. They were coming.
Step missed him very badly on one play. I will say he did miss him very badly.
But to me, he didn't look like himself. Yeah, I'll be honest. He didn't.
All right. So
it has been like a whole month since then.
So, he was about 85%, and he had another 28 days to find out what it was.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're all at right there on that one.
Yes.
In terms of keys to the game, because I think we hit that 10 minutes ago. We never got around to it.
Yeah.
I think I've already hit mine. I think it's obvious. It's being able to be Georgia. I can't remember the last time a team required Georgia to feel like they haven't been able to stop the run. And honestly, the only time I've seen it happen in the last, I would say, 30 games, I felt like at points in the SEC championship game last year, the story of the game was the fact that Alabama managed rushing success, despite the fact that they had a third string running back in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. That their offensive line managed, that they survived, that they able to average 4 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. I don't see that happening on Saturday. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I also, like, here's what scares me about Michigan. I turn the tape on Michigan. I see thick ass. I see thick bodies. I see big dudes. I see NFL like ready to go corners and safeties. I see 6'3", 205-pound strong safeties. I see 6'2", 195-pound long rangy like strong free safeties. I see NFL coaches everywhere on the defense. I see a pedigree of big bodies. I see 6'7", 285-pound ends, and they rotate them. I see that at some point at Ohio State, but I also see 6 foot, like 2.5, 6'1", 285 at the nose tackle or the defensive tackle position. I also see a nose tackle who's not really like a superstar. I also see 2 linebackers that are like, one of them is a converted running back, 3-star from Blessed Trinity, who Still Chambers, great human being, hilarious. Going to have a long time career in professional television. I don't know if he's going to play on Sundays. 35, the linebacker. He's been playing for 5 years in college football for a reason. Brandon Stozier, the tight end they converted from linebacker to tight end for a reason, because they didn't have winners at that position. Like, they've been depleted at certain positions that we can't say that about, except for one position at Georgia. It's the receiver position. Everywhere else, they're loaded, like top to bottom. The interior play from Ohio State, despite the fact that I think Larry Johnson's the most developed defensive line coach in college football. I think every single defensive lineman that comes out of there fights with their hands really well. I think they're successful in the NFL at an early rate, but their ceilings might not be as high because they might be maxed out. But they have not recruited at the interior positions well enough. And they haven't recruited at corner and safety well enough, in my opinion, and developed well enough at those positions to live up against a 4-quarter fight against this death machine. This death machine is different. This death machine leans on you on both sides of the football. It makes you hurt.
Well,
I'm going to be real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Okay. I'm going to give my keys real quick, and then I'm going to pass it off to Cole and Griff. They can give their keys to the game. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to feed you the typical, you got to win up front, yada, yada. It's easy. Don't turn the ball over. Georgia probably, I haven't looked it up, they probably have the worst turnover differential for a 13-0 team of all time. Don't quote me on that, but they're probably -1, -2, wherever they are. It's not great.
They were dead even going into Tech.
And
dead even.
I think we went even against LSU and then lost one, so they're probably -1.
Yeah. Which is uncommon for winning football teams.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Very uncommon for winning football teams. You got to be even or ahead. One or the other. Cannot be negative. You got to win one-on-one on the outside. Their receivers are fantastic. They're going to test our corners. I think our corners can step up to the challenge, but you have to win more often than you don't. And the last thing is you got to show up. If you go out there and you simply do not lay an egg, I think you will be completely fine. But those are my keys. That's what I got. All jokes aside, I know we've been having a little fun on this show. Dead serious. That's what I got for this game.
For me, and I sat here and listened to all offseason how Alabama and Ohio State, they're supremely talented, way above everybody else, and all this.
Sorry.
And I sat here the whole time, like, listen, the bells and whistles are cool, and both teams have them. They have the names, they have the guys you know, and they have the guys on the outside who can beat your guys on the outside, and all that is true, and that does win you football games. But I'm looking at it from a Georgia fan's perspective the whole time, and I knew what we had. I knew what we had returning. I knew SVP was going to be in the middle. I knew we had those guys up front. Like, I knew how solid our interior was. And I'm sitting there thinking, these teams are not that far ahead of us, because interior football wins games. It always has. It always will. That's why Bama has been the only team that can consistently give Georgia problems, is because they can match us up front in most years. This year, I did not feel like they could. When you're getting plug-and-play left tackles from Vanderbilt, I did not feel like you could match us up front. And that's the only reason I sat here and said, I don't know, guys. Like, I think we're right there with them. I don't think we're far behind them at all. And I've watched Ohio State for the past couple of weeks, and it's the same thing for me. Like, until they prove to me that they can move people up front in the interior, they're always good on the outside. Paris Johnson's a dog. Jack Sawyer is good, and JT is good. But until they get into the interior and start really moving people up there, I just think we have the advantage. And like Jake said, if we don't turn the ball over, we should win the game.
They have solid analysis.
Great analysis.
I think what we have come to the conclusion of is that barring some type of massive turnovers from Georgia or CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. being so much better than everyone else on the football field, that there's not very many pathways to Ohio State winning.
Yeah.
Okay?
Hey, and like I said, as confident as we are, we can absolutely go out there and play the worst football.
Dude, I see a loss. Like I see a loss, a pathway to a loss. The pathway
Definitely
to a loss is CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison. CJ Stroud in particular is unfucking like stoppable on 3rd and long. Like if he's just unbeatable, if he's just fitting balls into tight windows, if he's just one of one, which he might be able to do. Like honest to God, Georgia wanted him for a reason. Like he's a good football player. I think he's I said earlier in the show, I would draft him number 1 quarterback on the board because Will Levis can get the hell out of here with his mayo eating ass, and I'm not here with the Bryce Young stuff for a longevity play.
About Richardson.
Oh my God. Like I'm not really here for all this. I'm just saying that like there are 2 paths for Ohio State to win the football game. And there are 100 paths for Georgia to win the football game. And for that reason, Georgia should win the football game. If our job is to sit here and predict us upsets, I'm not just going to sit here and do it because fun.
Right.
That's a great
No
point.
doubt.
Hey, that's a great point, Brooks, because that's something that I've said 100 times is I can picture so many ways. There's so many, every single number, not every single, every single stat, every single number, everything points to Georgia. Red zone efficiency, red zone offense, red zone defense, just general rushing attack. Like there's so many things you can point to. Play up front, like Cole said. There's still, they might beat you. That's just how it goes.
That's
and
football.
like I said, yeah, that's football. And you
get
know
the
what?
pick 6.
Exactly. And the thing is, I will ride with what I've seen so far. And like you said, Ohio State could come out and CJ Stroud could do, he could be the man. He could come out and I haven't seen that.
All right,
you know what I have seen Georgia do? I've seen Georgia embarrass 5 top 25 teams.
Here's the thing that makes me feel good about that, though. We're talking about is CJ Stroud's fitting in tight windows on 3rd and long because Bryce Young did that, right? And in the SC Championship, he was unbelievable. But to me, it's still for him to be able to do that. Someone up front for Ohio State has to step up and keep 88 off of him because you can't fit in tight windows if he's on the ground. Alabama was able to do that in that game in Atlanta. They weren't able to do it in the Natty, and that was the difference.
Hell, the first play of the game.
That's something else too.
The first series of the game in the Natty, I think Jordan Davis hit Nakobe or hit Bryce Young, and Nakobe took it back for almost what should have been a touchdown, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a touchdown, by the way. That was a
was
touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
So if Stetson's was a fumble, that was a fumble.
Forward, it was on the backswing.
Yeah.
Now,
so that's the thing for me. It can happen, but the people that has to step up for Ohio State to win is in the interior up front on both sides of the football.
They got to live.
We talk about 88. I'm thinking about Nays. I'm thinking about Logue. I'm thinking about Stack. Like all these guys. I'm thinking it's the guys around Jalen Carter because you know what? I guarantee you Ryan Day right now, he's got 88 circled a couple times. We're joking about Ryan Day. He's not that much of a fool. He knows 88 is a guy that can absolutely wreck a game plan.
I'll tell you
it's
this,
going to have to be
like,
the guys around 88.
Jake, I listened to a lot of smart football coaches this week tell me that it's really, really hard to double 3 techniques.
I've said that from the beginning. I've said
really hard, man.
That a good defensive tackle is
so
way
hard.
more unstoppable than a dominant edge rusher. You can't double team that.
What you basically have to do is bring your center towards him every single time, which
you
means you're allowing. So, like, here, listen to me, audience. If Jalen Carter is to the left of the center, okay, if he's on the left shoulder of the left guard, okay, he's all the way over here. And if from the center over, we have to dedicate all this leverage here, well, guess what? I got a 1 technique over here on the inside shoulder of that guard with a 2-way go, all by himself. All by himself.
That's why we need 32 to have a big game.
Guess what happens when I fire a mic right into A gap? We really fuck it all up.
Right.
Like we really screw it all up. So like you can really dedicate a bunch of resources to Aaron Donald in pro football. You can scheme all week. You can spend 60 hours that week figuring everything out and dedicating it all. Can't do that in college football. It's so hard to just dedicate. We're going to put 2 bodies on 88 in the pass game. No. Like if it was that easy, every team would do it. If it was that easy, Tennessee wouldn't be giving up safeties for touchdowns on 3rd and 7 in their own 5. Like, it wouldn't happen.
He stopped the drive single-handedly against LSU. They knew he was there. Like,
Yeah,
it's not like they didn't know he was there.
Yeah.
He single-handedly stopped the entire drive.
This is a great segue too, because this made me think of Ryan Davis getting that game-sealing sack against Tennessee. Talking about blitzes from somebody. By the way, that delayed blitz from JDJ against LSU, just beautiful. Now, who's the guy whose name we might have heard called a little bit, not heard as much as maybe you would have expected? Who's going to be that guy on Saturday? Griff, who you got?
I'm gonna say that. I don't know. Go to Cole first. He's got his guy. I'll think of it.
I'm gonna
We've
let him
seen
do
the
this.
speed. We've seen it flash. Like, we haven't put him in blitzes very often to get to the quarterback, but Smile Monty can get back there quick.
Let's do
He
it.
get back there quick. And if like we said, if they're assigning too much to Jalen Carter, too many resources to Jalen Carter, A-gap's wide open. A-gap is wide open. And if number 2 comes flying through there, you better get the ball out quick, because he will be on you like white on rice. He's a good blitzing linebacker. Javon Bullard's quick off the edge too. Like, there's some guys out there who we have not blitzed much that when they do, it could really pop.
That's the one I'm going with. I'm going to go with Deuces. I'm going with Javon Bullard. And here's the deal. I think Georgia is far more comfortable in like extreme situations, like dire situations, allowing Javon Bullard to add into the box or create havoc nearest the line of scrimmage or in the flat, and allowing Malachi Starks to play man-to-man coverage than they are allowing Javon Bullard to play man-to-man coverage, which is the advantages of having an All-American safety who is also probably the best coverage safety in America when it comes to
I've
man-to-man
ever
ability.
watched, I think.
Like, Malachi's ability to just cover anybody whenever is so like refreshing to this defense, because it allows them to do whatever they want. Like, when I text people and like around the league and I'm like, hey, SEC coach from X school, not named Georgia, what would you do? Well, I'd blitz the shit out of Bullard and I'd play man coverage with Malachi Starks in the slot, and we would just
Tennessee
live.
tape. Watch the Tennessee tape.
And guess
He'd
what?
come butt booty naked wide open a
Guess
few
what,
times.
Jake? It wasn't even Tennessee tape in the sense that, like, it wasn't called. It was called. It was a called blitz, but it was also Tennessee going into 6- and 7-man protection, and Javon Bullard having seen it for the 3rd or 4th time,
Right.
and saying that tight end's never going to release. Screw this. I'm just keying. And he went. And guess who else does that dumb shit? Ohio State. As good as Ohio State is at throwing the football, you know how many times they're running 2- and 3-man routes? It would blow your mind. It will blow your mind how often they go hard play action and turn around and only have 2 viable options and 1 check down. Georgia dedicates 5 to the pass every single play.
Yeah. 5 able bodies.
Able.
It ain't like you're out
able.
there just picking on one dude.
Griff,
Yeah.
you got one?
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna go with the men up front. I'm gonna say not even specifically Jalen Carter, more of the guys around him, like Warren Brinson, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, Michael Williams. I think they're gonna be huge in this game, because when it comes down for me is if early in this game CJ Stroud gets put on his butt a few times, I don't know how he's gonna react to that. And
I've seen him.
If
He
it
doesn't do
reacts, if it's a bad reaction to that, it's going to be a long game for Ohio State. So I think if that happens early, then it's going to be ugly.
Why do you guys keep saying Tennessee's nothing like Ohio State? They're both overrated frauds. That's the point I'm trying to make.
There it is.
Well,
They're
I
both
would
soft as shit.
I would say this in the sense that Tennessee's offense is predicated off of like kind of one thing, right?
Real quick.
Punching into the boundary. Whereas like Ohio State's offense is kind of predicated off of elite wide receivers and a great quarterback play. You know what I mean?
Tennessee is kind of the new
versus
Gus
men.
Auburn. Tennessee's kind of the new Gus Auburn.
Yeah,
I feel like they're going to get their
I'll go
licks
with
in.
that.
Yeah, that makes
I would
sense.
go
They're
with
going to
that.
get their
Heupel-
licks in on
Heupel
Bama.
is
They're
very
going to
Malzahni. Heupel is very Malzahni.
get some licks in on Georgia. They're going to get some licks in on Bama every once in a while. And they'll ride that train for about 7 or 8 years and then can them, and they'll never win anything.
I just find it interesting, and I don't like consume a bunch of other people's content, but I'm pretty sure the Bucky beat reporters have been talking about, you know, how Ohio State hadn't played very many complete football games this year. How they don't look like a very much complete football team. And the Bucky beat reporters, not the Bucky fans, the Bucky beat reporters are out here talking about, it should kind of be, the Dogs by not a good bit, but the Georgia should control this. And that's a football team. And I don't trust necessarily beat reporters everywhere else to be studying their own teams, but
Right.
they should be, and they should know them. They should know their weaknesses and their strengths. And if there's any, up for grabness in terms of who might win this football game, the beat reporter should always lean towards the team he's covering because you got interest in that financially, 100%, no doubt about it. And if you're honest about it, I am. Like, the only time I've ever picked Georgia to lose was the LSU in 2019 SEC.
I mean, yeah.
I think we all did.
They got that ass beat.
Yeah.
It took every
like,
homer bone in my body to say we were going to win that game.
But
all right.
I'm also and we could wrap it up soon, but we're also peaking at this point, gentlemen. So whatever. I'm also the same person that bit the bait on Alabama being the super team this year. Little did I know they were the Nnamdi Asomugha Philadelphia Eagles. Like,
yeah,
I didn't expect that to happen.
I expected a Alabama Ohio State undefeated national championship rematch, and I guess
I did.
I saw it, boys. I saw the colors in the sky. But here's the thing, though. Like,
hey, chill out, Miami.
Yeah, that was bad, boy. I couldn't be chalk. Couldn't be chalk.
Hey, I had NC State, which, by the way, one loss team with one loss to Clemson by one score until Devin Leary went down. We had a chance.
They didn't look good before then, though.
Yeah,
No. We don't have to talk about that. No.
But what I was going to say was last year's defense was generational, right? Like, we see the guys doing that, what they're doing in the NFL right now. It's stupid. Quay Walker is unbelievable. But then this is probably the hot take the Chance paid for. I think there's less holes on this defense than last year's defense, especially in the passing game. And I just feel comfortable with that. And I'm not saying they're as dominant because they're not. It's statistically they're not as dominant as last year. That last year's was just stupid, swallow you whole. But I think there's less holes in this year's defense than last year's defense.
I don't think that's insane at all.
From a back six standpoint, yeah. I have people inside that building that believe they have the two best safeties in college football.
And I would agree. I would 1,000%. And I've never been able to say that.
They don't.
You got people in this room right here on West Broad Street that think they got the three best, especially if you're including Chris Smith.
I'm well aware of that. I'm just talking about like Lewis Cine was a first round draft pick, but I'm telling y'all right now, Lewis Cine had holes.
That's what I'm saying. And this is the best star position we've ever had under Kirby Smart. It's not even close, in my opinion. Not even close.
Tyreek Stevenson freshman year was fucking.
He was good. Yeah, he was good.
Elite. Tyreek Stevenson at 6'1.5", 190 pounds was the best star I've ever seen.
He was still rotating on Mark
Webb, you know what, Coach? I want to eat chicken and play. I want to eat fried chicken. I want to eat a bunch of food and play corner. I want to get big and play corner. And now he's probably not going to play in the league. And that's unfortunate. And if you go back and look through my Twitter feed, you'll find that I said Tyreek was supposed to be a first-round draft pick. That's unfortunate. It's really sad.
He was a dog, but he was still rotating on Mark Webb.
Man, so elite.
Should we do score predictions? I feel like we could do our score predictions, our final piece. We'll go around the horn. Griff, you want to go first, or Cole? One of you want to get it?
I can go. I'm going to say 41-23 Dogs. I think they get some licks in every now and then, score more points than we've seen from pretty much anybody. But I think the Dogs handle business easily. I think we get it done.
I told somebody at my gym this week 41-21, so I'll stick to it. I got 41-21.
What did I say earlier? 41-32, some along those lines.
Yeah, 41-34.
Yeah, 41-34.
I mean, bottom line, I think it's an 18 to 20 point game going into the fourth. I think Ohio State scores a late touchdown.
I think we're looking at 49-28. I think Kirby's got a little bit to work on. I think this is going to be one of those games where they're going to be close in the first half. Definitely a competitive first half. We've seen that a couple times. Not against top teams, except Mississippi State's an outlier. We've had a lot of times where Georgia's just taken off on top 25 teams when they play higher opponents. But I do think that it's a close game in the first half, and then I think Georgia just starts to grind them down. It's similar to when Ohio State played Michigan. It's similar to when we played Mississippi State. We see somebody like Kendall Milton start ripping some chunk runs. 49-28.
You tell me we're about to see some death marches in the fourth quarter?
Oh God, I
Hey.
hope so, because I'm gonna be in the bins and I'll be sitting there
Sure,
every
let
time
me
we get a
get
first
that
down.
play.
Hey, I'm
Smart.
gonna tell you right now, 18 minutes, 2 scoring drives. 18 minutes, 14 points, the University of
love that.
Michigan. I mean, they scored on a 8.5-minute drive midway through the third, and they scored on an 8-minute drive midway through the second. I mean, like, and as much as they did it on offense, they did it on defense too.
Right.
They play bend but don't break. And I said
Right.
this on our film study. I truly believe, I stand by this. I don't think there's a human being in this world that teaches bend but don't break defense better than Kirby Smart. Guys, there ain't been an offense in America in the last 5 years, not named Alabama, that has scored in bunches against Georgia. There hadn't been. Even the Oklahoma Sooner days, they were taking 6-7 plays to score 55 points. It's so hard to score in 3 or 4 plays, 4 or 5 plays. And that's what Ohio State's like offense is kind of predicated off of. And vicariously on the flip end, defensively, Georgia's so happy that you will allow them to take 9 minutes off the clock to score
doubt.
a touchdown and win 28-10. If that's what it
No
is,
doubt.
like they don't care. It's the one coach in America that will 100% sit on it and say, "How y'all like my new offense?"
I saw him struggle against a pre-Notre Dame, pre-martial law Notre Dame team. They're just not physical enough to hang with us. I'm sorry. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough. They're not fast enough. We're sending them back to Ohio with a red ass. They can tote that shit back home.
Are we good?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a good way to end it there.
90 minutes, hot and strong. Appreciate the Backstreet Boys for joining us tonight, man. A lot of clippable stuff there that might get ugly. Appreciate you guys for joining. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. There's a whole lot of you people being here or watching tonight. Look, I know a lot of you people, a lot of people come to the platform to watch, film or watch me or listen to NBR or whatever. Support these guys as well. Support the other people on the platform. They do good stuff. They do really good content across the platform and on social media as well at Backstreet Boys. I think that's. Give me the handle right quick, Cole. I'm gonna add you back in. Give me that handle.
Just at Backs Street Boys, BAXSTBOE.
100%. They do great stuff on Twitter as well, and they do great stuff here on the platform. So make sure you follow it. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Appreciate you for being here. We will see you another time. Love ya.